As Christians prepare to celebrate the birth of Jesus, we might take a moment to look at how other religions both revere Jesus and take him seriously. What's the other religion that does that? Islam. To consider how Muslims see Jesus, we need to step back and consider first God's relationship to humans as Muslims understand it. And that begins with two ideas: stewardship and prophecy. The Quran teaches that God made humans to be stewards. The Arabic word is khalifa. They're stewards of creation. Humans are creatures that are made by God, but they are also creatures who are to have stewardship over God's creation. And that gets us to prophecy. For humans to be good stewards, they need to know God's will. They need to know the rules and the principles that they will have to have if they are going to live as stewards in peace and prosperity and have decent lives within this world of God's creatures. The way God teaches humans the rules and the principles is through prophets. God sends prophets to all the people throughout all of history. Indeed, the first prophet is Adam himself. Why? Because everybody has a prophet. Of course, Muslims don't claim to know the names of all the prophets, because most of them didn't leave a book, and they aren't mentioned in the other books of the prophets. But Muslims know some of these prophets because those prophets are mentioned explicitly in the Quran, the book of Revelation that came through Muhammad. Adam, as I mentioned, is the first prophet in the Quran. Noah is another that Christians also know. So are Abraham and Moses and even David and Solomon, all mentioned in the Quran as prophets. But apart from Muhammad, the most important prophet in the Quran is Jesus. Jesus is actually mentioned many more times in the Quran than is Muhammad. So what do Muslims believe about Jesus? Why is he so important? Well, first, Muslims believe that Mary was a virgin when she gave birth to Jesus. A whole chapter in the Quran is named Mary. Jesus, like Adam, was created by God without the need for any human sexual intercourse between a man and a woman. He is God's real creation, so a virgin birth. Muslims also believe that Jesus worked a lot of miracles. Both the Quran and other Islamic sources mention those miracles that are found in the Christian Bible, as well as many miracles that are spoken of in the folklore of the time. It's a reminder to us that Muhammad lived in a world in which there were already Christians and Christian teaching. Muslims believe that Jesus was sent for crucifixion by the Roman authorities, but that he was never killed. Instead, they believe he was taken up into heaven by God directly, and he waits there. Muslims call Jesus Messiah, but the title doesn't mean what it means to Christians. The Quran explicitly says that Jesus is not the Son of God, nor is he God incarnate. He is, like all the prophets, a Muslim, preaching the same prophetic message of the oneness of God and obedience to God's command that was preached by Muhammad and every other prophet. Any part of the teaching of Jesus that is found to contradict what the Quran says is regarded as a distortion, a corruption. Finally, Muslims believe that Jesus will return at the final judgment. He's going to help a character who's named Al-Mahdi to defeat the Antichrist, the anti-Messiah. After the defeat of the Antichrist, Al-Mahdi will rule for a number of years. Then Al-Mahdi will die. Then Jesus will rule for 40 years in a time of universal peace and justice. Then when Jesus dies, he will be buried in Mecca, and then will come the final judgment of all human beings. But it should be noted that Islamic eschatology doesn't really take itself from the Quran. There's not a lot there, or even in the sayings of Muhammad. A lot of Muslim eschatology is drawn from Christian sources because, of course, Christian sources also talk about Jesus and about the end of the world. Finally, let's talk at a popular level. At a popular level, Muslim understandings of Jesus vary from one Muslim culture to another Muslim culture. As Muslims, all Muslims bless Jesus' name and that of his mother Mary whenever they speak it. In some Muslim countries, the Christian celebration of Jesus' birth is accepted as a time when Muslims can also honor Jesus, while denying Christian beliefs about Jesus' divinity. Nowhere in the Muslim world is Jesus ever dishonored. Nowhere is his virgin birth denied, and nowhere is his teaching ignored. So Muslims honor and bless Jesus, but they do not worship him. He is a prophet, but in this time of Christmas, a Muslim would never say that he is Emmanuel, God with us. Thanks. Hope you've learned something. Bye.